Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Round the Horn. My name is Lee. That famous bass line you hear in the background to the Smithereens' Blood and Roses is our special guest today, Mike Mesaros, bass player for the Smithereens. Hello, Mike. How are you?
We're doing good, Lee. Thanks a lot for having me.
Guess what I've got on?
Beautiful.
The Smithereen.
Beautiful.
You know what? I'm shocked that I actually still fit into it because this is a pretty old T-shirt. But
I got a special shirt on too. I got to stand up a little bit. I don't know.
Hitman. Ah, yes, exactly.
Remember they sold those great T-shirts across from Yankee Stadium?
Yes.
They were cheap. Those navy blue ones. You know, this is Don Mattingly.
Yes. Yes.
One of my favorite ball players ever.
I heard that his actual nickname was The Rock.
Uh-huh.
Because my friend Jack Scarangella, who you might know as a bass drummer, good friends with many of the Yankees, including he was Ron Guidry's drum teacher. And the story goes that
Ron Guidry, man.
Yeah, Ron would play drums underneath Yankee Stadium with Jack before he'd go to the bullpen to warm up.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. Jack's got some stories like you wouldn't believe. Well, anyway, we've got to talk baseball here.
Well, you know who was the modern day Ron Guidry?
Who's that?
In body type, Tim Lincecum.
Yeah, right.
When I would see Lincecum, of course, Guidry was a lefty.
Right.
And when I'd see Lincecum pitch, it would, how they's guys, they're small and wiry, and it's all mechanics. Right. And you being a scout, you would know about that better than me, though.
But Guidry he just generated such whip, and that's why. And then, Guidry was the one that actually started teaching everybody the slider.
That's right. Oh,
with him and Righetti, they were developing that slider together, and then they kept passing that on to other pitchers on the Yankees. So that was the start of something really interesting with.
I think they called that a cut fastball before.
Well, it became the cut fastball, yes, and that was when some of the guys, when they couldn't get the full break on the slider, they actually just almost halfway slider, and it became the cut fastball.
Oh, I see. So it's in between.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Like some guys couldn't throw the good curveball, so we would call it a slurve. It'd be a half slider, half curveball.
Right.
But the same thing with this, when they couldn't throw the full slider and couldn't get the break on it, they got a little tail at the end, and that was the cut fastball.
And then, Dave Righetti turned out to be a great pitching coach out here with the Giants for many years.
Yeah.
Fantastic pitching coach.
Did you play baseball yourself?
Just sandlot ball. I played Little League and then sandlot ball. But you know what I did? I was an umpire.
Oh, wow.
Cool. I was a man in blue. I started off with Little League. Worked in Carteret. We had a league called Joe Medwick League.
Right, yeah.
It was under Babe Ruth, so it wasn't 16 years old. It was like 13, 14 years old.
Right.
But it was still good baseball because by that time it was the first time the guys were playing on a full-size diamond.
Okay.
And, that got to be fun, calling balls and strikes when pitchers had command and some velocity.
Sure, right.
And I loved umpiring. That was my summer job.
No kidding.
Many years, right through high school. 8th grade through high school, my summer job I was an umpire. So I'm a stickler for the infield fly rule. All that stuff.
When you see it go out into the outfield, it's no longer an infield fly.
Well, yeah, because it's playable by an infielder, but the infielder's in right field. The shortstop's in right field. So how do you – and you know what? That's one thing I really miss, Lee, those old umpires.
Right.
We grew up watching they were theatrical.
Absolutely.
And they had such personality.
Yes.
They were a huge part of the game. Now they're just confirming replays. And they don't even bother making a call if it's just like what kind of call is that?
Yeah.
They used to tell you when you went to umpire school, be emphatic with your call and you won't get arguments. You got to
Right.
sell your
Yeah,
call.
you gotta sell the call. Right. Right.
Even foul ball was foul. You yelled as loud as you could.
Yep.
And
Everybody can hear you.
remember, Ron Luciano was the greatest of them all.
Yes. Yeah. Joe West ain't bad either.
Joe West, Cowboy Joe West.
Yeah. Right.
And
Exactly.
he's one of the old brigade.
Sure. I still think that the umpires, at least in the one league, American League, should wear that balloon. There's more
That's right.
protection with that balloon behind the plate than there is with anything else.
But remember, they said that affected the strike zone
I don't think
because
so.
they couldn't see the low call as well as the National League guys who were hanging over the shoulder of the catcher, and the balloon prevented them from doing that.
I'm not sure if that was the case, but
That's what I used, a balloon.
yeah,
As
that
a
was
kid umpire, you used a balloon.
yeah, right. Now they're talking about maybe moving the home plate umpire behind the mound.
No good.
I don't think so either.
No good.
He's in the field of play.
It would ruin, you wouldn't have any of the dialogue. There's a lot of dialogue between the catcher, the umpire, and the hitter, and the umpire, and it's part of the game, that dialogue.
Oh, yes.
Where was that? Where was that, Joe? That's low. That's low, Buster. That's low. That kind of thing. That's part of the human part of the game.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I remember hearing a story about Joe DiMaggio, and there was a pitcher that was throwing, and it was he was throwing real hard, and Joe got a call strike on him, and he went back to the umpire, and he said, that sounded low.
Right. Right.
So tell me about your experiences with baseball, and I tell that you actually, as a musician, were part of a band with a major league pitcher.
Oh, well, I played the band with Jack McDowell for years.
Black Jack, yeah.
Yeah, we became good friends. Jack treated me really well. His band, what was called View.
Right, I have the CD somewhere in my collection. I couldn't find it before, but it's somewhere there.
When we were out promoting our fourth album, those guys were on the road with us, opening for us.
Oh, great.
And,
cool.
We did a lot of hanging out, a lot of talking baseball, a lot of talking music, and we got to be friends and had a lot of common influences. Jack is a great songwriter. His greatest skill as a musician is not his vocal or his guitar, but his songwriting, and that is really a gift.
We're going to have to go look back into the collection I've got to dig out that CD I have.
Yeah, when I played with Jack, the band was called Stick Figure.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I know the CD I have is called The View, so I'm not sure if that's...
That was when they were out with us before I was playing with Jack.
Oh, okay.
Scott Radinsky was in that band.
Was he really? No kidding.
Yeah. Yes.
What did Scott play?
He was a guitar player, I think.
Okay.
I don't remember too well. I had a lot of fun in those days.
Yeah. So tell me about some stories with Jack.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's really different when you go to a ball game and you watch a friend of yours play, and you have that kind of personal interest in the game. It's completely different. It's nerve-wracking, and I was never so focused on counts, how many times he was behind in the count. Has he thrown a lot of pitches? Is he getting this call or that call? And also Jack would have something you don't have anymore. He would struggle. He wouldn't have his command that particular day, but he would stay in the game. They would leave him in the game and he'd give up 5 runs, and and his team often would come back and win that game with him still on the hill. And that is something of the past
Yeah, you
now.
don't see that anymore. No,
No,
he
those guys just bemoan that. They don't dig the parade of relief pitchers, and neither do I.
right.
Here's an interesting thing Jack told me one time. We were in a bar after the game, having a beer, and I just like out of nowhere said, Jack, what was it like your first major league game? He was at Comiskey, it was at the old Comiskey Park. So he'd been around. That's where he came up, in the old Comiskey Park.
Right, I was there once. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said, you know what? It was just my next game. It was my next game. That's the way he looked at it. He didn't look at it as like, oh my God, I'm in the big leagues. Look at all these people. I'm on TV. It wasn't at all like that.
The focus is different.
It was my next game.
Right.
And I think that's the way you have to look at it.
Sure.
To succeed. Yeah. And there's another parallel with music. It's your next gig.
Right.
You're on Saturday Night Live. It's your next gig. You're live on NEW from the boardwalk in front of 30,000 people.
Right.
Like we did a few times. And it's your next gig. Yeah, you got more butterflies and your heart's beating faster, but a professional can control those things and not let the emotion of the moment get in the way. In fact, you embrace it and you're even better under pressure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I learned from Jack about how he felt when he pitched.
That's sometimes what we look for as a scout, is that you're looking for the demeanor, especially a pitcher on the mound. And when I've coached pitchers, I always tell them, you got to have ice in your veins. Nothing's going to bother you out there. Whether it's the umpire and a bad call or an error in the field, you're completely different. You're just immune to all that stuff.
Well, Lee, right? Baseball's a game of failure.
Right, exactly.
You went 3 for 10. You're doing really well.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And don't you look for how a guy deals with failure and adversity?
Oh, absolutely. It's the mark of a pro. When he has it in him, you're looking for not only that he can hit or he can pitch or he's good in the field and everything. You're looking at his demeanor all the time. You even look at how he dresses. You're looking at, is this kid going to be a pro, or he has the potential to be a pro?
You mean his uniform or street clothes?
Yeah, no, uniform.
Uh-huh.
Guys that are sloppy and stuff like that, you'd say, oh, you can't see him in a major league uniforms. Some pro, that's some guy that's been there for a while is going to tell him how to dress. Otherwise, he's not going to be around much longer.
So you look at a lot of intangibles that the average person wouldn't consider.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Every scout will tell you, there's things you look at on the field that nobody else will actually understand. And you're wondering why this kid is better than the others, even though like 2 kids could hit a home run. One guy can run around the bases like he's Pete Rose, or another guy's going to take a trot. The kid that you want is the kid that's going to be a scrapper.
Right.
He's somebody that, appreciates it, but he's not going to grandstand. He's not a hot dog. So that's somebody that you want to appreciate.
Would you give a guy positive marks? Let's say a pitcher gave up a home run. The guy hot dogged it around the base. He flipped his bat. He did a hop, skip, and a jump up the first base line. And then his next time up, the pitcher put one right in his ribs. Would you give a guy marks for that?
I don't know. That's something that if he's a pro, then he probably deserves it. But if he's a kid, I don't know.
Jack Wood.
Yeah.
Jack Wood. That's why they called him Blackjack.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I had a thing where,
old school.
As a pitcher, I didn't throw at anybody, but I would make him dance with a curveball.
I see. Well,
curveball in the dirt, and he got the message.
Right.
But blackjack, yeah, absolutely. And you see guys that today, they would never. The umpires wouldn't allow it.
Well, I guess, and when the guys you're watching are young and they're not in the big leagues and they can't do all that
No,
stuff
they
yet.
can't.
But what
Absolutely.
goes on
No.
in the big leagues offends me. I'm offended by it as a purist and an old school guy. From bat flipping to not running out ground balls, that is the most
Oh, that's an
egregious sin
insult.
of all.
Right.
Like I remember when Deion Sanders was with the White Sox, was with the Yankees, and the game was in Yankee Stadium, and he didn't run a ground ball out, and Carlton Fisk followed him up the line, yelling, "Run it out, run it out," and it caused a brawl.
Sure. Yes.
But there was a brawl over a guy not running out a ball, and the opponent coming up after him to run it out. And Goose Gossage pointed all this stuff out a couple of years ago. Remember, he was working for the Yankees in spring training.
Oh, yes. Right.
And they canned him
Yep.
because he opened his mouth about this stuff. He was talking about Batista,
Right.
who got what was coming to him as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Not the game that we know, that's for sure.
No.
Although we still appreciate everything about it. And there's some guys that are old school out there and you appreciate what they do.
I do. I appreciate Buster Posey,
So the Giants your favorite team these days?
I became a Giant fan. Look, I'm weird. I'm a weird guy. Okay, I watched the Mets and I watched the Yankees growing up.
Me too.
My family were National League, going back to the Giants. I grew up on the Gospel of Willie Mays. I was taken to Shea every time the Giants were in town. The M boys, Mays, McCovey, Marichal.
Right.
I even had a Giants cap as a kid. However, the '69 World Series, I went to one of the games, and the '69 Mets, and I mean, that was your team when Tom Seaver came up, and
right, exactly.
And all the old timers that were still around, like Gil Hodges, Brooklyn Dodgers. But later on, also as a kid, my dad told me that he loved Babe Ruth and he loved the Yankees too. So I have a little, I brought a few props. So I wonder, I got to show you a picture, okay?
Sure, go ahead.
1 second? All right.
Love to see it. Love to see it.
I got a picture of my favorite ball player of all time. I brought it to show you, which is
Thurman, yes. Now that's a real ball player.
I just learned how someone goes about their business from Thurman and to always run it out.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you talk about a clutch hitter, oh my God. And he was unconventional, right? He wasn't born with a good body, an athlete's body.
No.
At all. And I mean, he threw 3/4 from behind the plate. You don't look at
catchers the same way again, because now that you can't block the plate, you don't have to have a big guy behind the plate anymore. So catcher these days only really has to be someone who's a good receiver and has got a good arm. Doesn't have to be big, because he doesn't have to do that blocking the plate stuff anymore. He can't. So in that respect, we're looking at catchers that are a little different these days. You can still get a skinny guy that could be a great catcher.
The close play at home plate was always my favorite play in baseball.
Right.
If you were sitting next to me and that guy was rounding third and that right fielder was winding up to make that throw, I'd be grabbing your arm and screaming. It was so exciting.
Absolutely.
It was so exciting, and that's another thing I don't like, Lee.
Well, it's now an Olay play.
It's the Olay play, and I'm like, what is this? So, Thurman was great at that, and so was Pudge Fisk and Jerry Grody was phenomenal.
Yes, absolutely.
Taking care of home plate.
Good players.
But I used to like the Yankees because of Phil Rizzuto too.
Oh, yes.
And my grandma, who took me to more games than anyone would, she was a hardcore Giants fan. They went to Polo Grounds, my family.
Right.
And she'd say, "Oh, I hate that Phil Rizzuto." She loved Ralph Kiner, Lindsey Nelson, Bob Murphy. But
yeah,
they used to talk about Russ Hodges like he was still there, you know.
Yes. Okay.
You want to see another prop? But my grandma.
Sure, go ahead.
All right.
World Series ticket. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. So that's 1960. That's 86. Yeah, I was at Game 7, 86.
This is from Game 6.
Yeah, that's the great game when they came back. The Mookie Wilson.
Yeah, the Bill Buckner game.
Right.
I wouldn't wish that on anyone, Lee.
No, neither.
I still feel sorry for him. He had a great career.
I've been there. Played first base for a while one time, and then, all of a sudden, you don't know why it happens, and it's once in a lifetime, but a ball goes through you somehow, some way.
And you can't explain it, huh? It's like the gods. You offended the baseball gods somehow,
And you feel like about 1 inch tall.
Yeah.
1 inch tall. Same way when you give up a home run. It was
so nuts after that happened, and after they won the game, they walked arm in arm out of the stadium with a cop.
Right. Yeah.
The feeling was incredible. It was really, yeah.
That was a great series, that's for sure.
The Red Sox, though, they finally got their championships. So
right. Mm-hmm.
That the wound has been healed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing with the Cubs, in 2016. We waited a long, long time for that one.
What was it, 100 and how many years?
108.
108 years.
Yep.
Did you get a ring, Lee?
I did.
I
don't have it handy. But yeah.
That's wonderful.
In fact, we got what's called the Scouts ring. It's a little smaller, but the ring that the full-timers got is so big you can't even wear it. It's like a golf ball that sits on your finger.
Yeah.
That's how big it is. And it's got 108 diamonds.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
For 108 years. Yeah. I think we're just about out of time. It's been great talking to you. Good seeing you again. And hopefully everything's all well with you out there in California. We want you back in Jersey as soon as you can.
I can't wait to be back in Jersey. And thank you so much for having me, Lee. And it's great to see you again.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon. You take care.
All right.